Dirt 5 has some very tricky HDR settings. Not just that this game supports the HDR calibration menu on the consoles, on top, this game also has in-game HDR sliders. Hello my friends and welcome back to my channel Amok Fall. So first things first, I do not own the PlayStation 5 version of this game anymore. I sold it a couple of months already ago. And yeah, that's why I can't verify the settings what I'm going to provide for the Xbox version today. But I'm actually almost 100% sure that the settings what I'm having for the Xbox version are matching the PlayStation 5 version one by one, okay? If not, I apologize in advance, and if you find some difference in the settings, of course, between Xbox and PlayStation 5, just put it in the comment section. I would much appreciate it, okay? Thank you very much. And the next thing is, all my settings, all my findings are based on my LG CX 65-inch, which is calibrated by myself, and therefore please do not expect exactly the same outcome, okay? Please feel free to try my settings, but again, my settings, my findings are just really based on my TV and not for your TV, okay? So this is just a quick reminder. What I really like in this game is how easy it is to actually access the HDR calibration menu on the console, at least on my Xbox. And again, I can't verify this for the PlayStation 5, but I'm very sure it's exactly the same. So in the video option, you have the option launch HDR game calibration, and when you press this, you're ending up in this calibration menu on the Xbox, and this is the first game actually where I found this feature, and this is just great. And I was so wrong, and I have to apologize, because in many videos I mentioned that as soon you play in Dolby Vision, the HDR calibration menu on the console, in Xbox console, has no impact anymore in the game or for Dolby Vision. This is completely wrong, at least when we're talking about a game what supports the calibration menu, because Dirt 5 doesn't support Dolby Vision natively. So Dolby Vision is backwards compatible, oh my god, that's a hard word, compatible to HDR10. So now, because there's no native Dolby Vision metadata, Dolby Vision will look for the HDR10 metadata. And of course, we are setting up this menu according to our TV with HKIC, dynamic tone mapping or whatever. Dolby Vision will take those settings. And it is very, very important that we set up this menu. And of course, I will share my recommended settings with you in a moment. But it is very important that even when using Dolby Vision, this is set up in the correct way. If we set up the HDR calibration menu on the Xbox in the complete wrong way, then we're ending up with a picture like this. Everything is oversaturated. We have a lot of clipping in very bright objects. This is not what we want. We want to have a picture like this. And this is the picture what we are after. Nothing is oversaturated. We have very nice bright objects, no clipping at all. Yeah, that's almost perfect. And now, of course, I'm going to share with you my settings. Okay, so let's start with the HDR in-game sliders in the game, and regardless of what HDR mode you're using, Dolby Vision on the Xbox, HDR10 on the Xbox or PlayStation 5, those settings are always the same. So I found to have one almost perfect settings is the best experience what I can get, because the rest is handled by the HDR calibration menu on the console. So let's start with explaining this a little bit. We have HDR calibration, we have the UI HDR Brightness, and we have Hdr Paperwhite. By the way, it's HDR, not HDR, but I need to apologize for this. I'm German. I'm working on my pronunciation, okay? Anyway, HDR calibration, make sure this is set to 100%, because as you can see, it will impact the HDR maximum peak brightness, okay? So make sure this is set to 100%. Let's talk about Hdr Paperwhite. So I found that the best settings to keep a nice bright picture and the best or the brightest peak brightness, the brightest peak brightness, that's, you get my point. But to keep the maximum peak brightness in terms of the HDR symbols or objects, this is set to 8 clicks from the beginning. Okay? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So keep in mind, if you like a little bit of a brighter overall picture and you increase this, you will decrease the maximum peak brightness from very bright objects, and also it will start to clip, you know. So this is a problem because our TV or the LG ZX, let's say like this, is not bright enough to display this in a very nice bright HDR. It also has to maintain, of course, the base brightness, and yeah, this is always a problem, you know. HDR sometimes is a little bit too dark, but the HDR objects are very, very bright. The combination between base brightness and maximum peak brightness sometimes doesn't add up, in my opinion. Okay, again, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. This is what I found through my testing will, yeah, keep you a okay brightness, a base brightness, in my opinion, but will not decrease the maximum peak brightness. Okay, so this, just keep this in mind. Okay, you can of course increase the HDR Paperwhite, but I would not recommend it. And again, this is for Dolby Vision and HDR10, HGIG dynamic tone mapping on, exactly the same. So UI HDR brightness, very, very important setting actually. And yeah, if you don't believe me, because the problem is, and this I mentioned already in a couple of other videos, this is really just for the objects here, you know, to increase or decrease the brightness from the whatever words or maybe rounds or whatever points or whatever is displayed on the screen. Okay, so but what I found in this game is in the lowest settings, so, and I measured exactly the same screen. When I keep this in the lowest settings, I had a maximum peak brightness from this very sun here around 670 candela. If I now increase this to the maximum setting, I lost around 50 candela from the maximum peak brightness. And this is what I'm talking about. Those brightness, or this brightness here at the moment, what you can see, which is, of course, it looks better, I have to agree, but this takes a lot of, let's call it power, let's say about power from the TV to display bright objects like this. So my recommendation is actually maximum +1, because already +2 will limit or decrease the maximum peak brightness from certain objects a little bit. Okay, so let's talk about the HDR calibration menu on the Xbox, and I'm very sure the same counts for the PlayStation 5 as well, but again, I can't verify it, unfortunately. So just a very quick hint, if you didn't notice, or you didn't notice, not even sure if this is correct English, but anyway, can you see this here? Minimum TML, maximum TML, maximum FFTML. You get this information by pressing the 4 shoulder buttons at the same time, and then you get this very helpful information actually on the Xbox. This is not working for the PlayStation 5, or at least I couldn't find the combination so far. Anyway, so let's start talking about Dolby Vision. Let's start talking about the first page here, and this first page counts for HDR10, HGIG, dynamic tone mapping on, Dolby Vision, exactly the same. We don't want to see any symbol here. We like to have the minimum TML at 0, okay? Not 0.5, not 0.10, whatever, 0, okay? We're jumping to the next page, and now we're talking about Dolby Vision, okay? Keep this in mind, and also keep this in mind that all those settings at this very moment just counting for DiRT5, okay? And I know that already, I can read already the comments that those settings doesn't make sense to you, but I can assure you it just looks very, very good on my TV. Okay, Dolby Vision. Make sure that you set this first page here to maximum TML 1100, which is 16 clicks from the very beginning, okay? So, next page, exactly the same. We like to have the maximum FFTML to 1100, also 16 clicks from the very beginning. So this is for Dolby Vision, and now let's talk about HDR10. Okay, HDR10, and we're starting with HGIG. So first page, as always, we don't want to see any symbols. Make sure the minimum TML is set to 0. Next page, make sure you set this up around 850 to 900, which means 11 to 12 clicks. I know that's a little bit higher than usual, or than recommended, but I found in Dirt 5 this is a little bit of a better setting. So with those settings, 900, I was actually able to get a little bit of a higher peak brightness out of very bright objects without clipping anything. HDR10 and dynamic tone mapping on, and the settings for dynamic tone mapping on are exactly the same as for Dolby Vision. So again, 0, okay, for this one. But next page, maximum TML 1100, and the other page, maximum FFTML 1100 as well, which are 16 clicks from the very beginning. So with those settings in dynamic tone mapping on, I had really the best experience in terms of HDR. Before I show you now a little bit of a comparison video between Dolby Vision, dynamic tone mapping on, and HGig, let's talk about the maximum peak brightness, what I was able to measure in this game. So dynamic tone mapping on offers you around 686 candela, Dolby Vision was slightly darker, 660 candela, and HGig on the other hand, 692 candela, which was very, very bright. So you can see, as always, or as in many games, Dolby Vision is slightly darker compared to HDR10, but also Dolby Vision in some games, not all the games, offers you a little bit of a higher base brightness, and also because of the lower peak brightness, it will not clip very bright objects as HDR10, especially dynamic tone mapping on, okay? So this is what I found in terms of the maximum peak brightness. I'm more than happy with this game, and now watch my little comparison video. Okay, my friends, that's already for this video. I hope you liked it. I hope you had some fun, and I hope my settings actually fitting your TV as well. So thank you very much for watching me, and yeah, if you're new to my channel, please do me a big favor, subscribe to my channel, support my channel, leave me a like, and also leave me a comment, of course. I would much appreciate this. And now I would say over and out. I see you guys next time. Bye.